Welcome back to another episode of WP Creators Corner, the podcast where we inform, educate, and inspire you to build better WordPress websites. I'm your host, Patrick Lumumba, and this is episode 5. Today, we are diving into a topic that every WordPress site owner should be aware of. That is how to analyze your WordPress website for unused plugins. One thing I know for sure is that unused plugins can really weigh down your site, slowing it down and even creating security risks. But don't worry, by the end of this episode, you'll have a clear understanding of how to identify and safely remove those unnecessary plugins. Before we continue, I have an exciting announcement for all the WordPress enthusiasts out there. The call for speakers for WordCamp Nairobi 2024 is now officially open. If you have ever wanted to share your knowledge, experiences, or insights with the WordPress community, this is your chance. WordCamp Nairobi 2024 will be held on November 1st and 2nd, and the organizers are looking for dynamic speakers to contribute to this year's event. Whether you're a developer, designer, blogger, or marketer, they welcome talks on a wide range of topics related to WordPress. The deadline to submit your talk is September 21st, so don't wait too long. Head over to nairobi.wordcamp.org/2024 to submit your talk proposal. We can't wait to see what you have to share at this year's WordCamp Nairobi. Now, let's get back to the show. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of analyzing your plugins, let's start with the basics. What exactly are plugins? The simplest of all the definitions is that plugins are pieces of software that you can add to your WordPress website to extend your site's functionality. They are what make WordPress so powerful and customizable. Whether you want to add a contact form, improve your SEO, or create an online store, there is probably a plugin for that. Now, not all plugins are created equal. Some are essential for your site's operation, while others might just be optional. And then there are those that are inactive or even outdated. Understanding the different types of plugins you have installed is the first step in managing them effectively. So, why should you care about unused plugins? First off, let's talk about performance. Every plugin you install adds code to your website, and that code can slow things down, especially if the plugin is not optimized or if it's just sitting there unused. But it's not just about speed. Unused plugins can also be a security risk. If a plugin is outdated or abandoned by its developer, it could have vulnerabilities that hackers can exploit. And even if it's inactive, it's still on your site, meaning it could still be a potential entry point for malicious attacks. I actually talked about this in the episode 3 of this podcast. Episode 3 is about the perfect number of plugins you can use on your website. I have included the link to the episode in the show notes. You can check it out later. Another factor is the website maintenance. The more plugins you have, the more complicated it becomes to manage your website. Regular updates, backups, and compatibility checks all become more challenging with a bloated plugin list. Alright, now that we understand the risks, let's talk about how to actually analyze your site for unused plugins. I usually do this in 6 easy steps. The first thing you want to do is make a list of all the plugins installed on your site. You can easily do this from your WordPress dashboard under the plugins section. Here, you'll see which plugins are active and which are inactive. Step 2, you'll want to assess whether each plugin is essential to your site. Ask yourself questions like, when was the last time I used this plugin? Does it provide functionality that I can't live without? If a plugin hasn't been used in months and doesn't serve a crucial purpose, it might be time to consider removing it. Step 3, you need to consider the plugin alternatives. Sometimes you might find that a single plugin can replace multiple other plugins. For example, some plugins offer a suite of tools that can handle everything from SEO to security. Consolidating plugins can help reduce bloat and improve your website's performance. The fourth step is to check plugin compatibility and updates. Make sure all your active plugins are compatible with the current version of WordPress. If a plugin hasn't been updated in a long time, it might be a sign that it's not being maintained anymore and could pose a security risk. Step 5 is to deactivate and monitor. Before you permanently remove a plugin, it's a good idea to deactivate it first and see if your site is affected. If everything continues to run smoothly, you are probably safe to remove it. Finally, once you're confident a plugin is not needed, go ahead and delete it from your site. This will help keep your site clean and reduce the risk of any issues down the line. Now, let's talk about some tools and techniques you can use to make this process easier. WordPress itself offers some tools to help you manage plugins. For instance, the Site Health tool in your dashboard can give you an overview of your site's performance and identify any potential issues related to the plugins. Also, there are some great third-party plugins designed to help you manage your plugins. Tools like WP Optimize can help you clean up your database and remove unnecessary files, while Query Monitor can help you identify plugins that are slowing down your site. While it's tempting to only rely on automated tools, I recommend combining them with manual checks. Automated tools can miss certain details that only a human eye can catch, so a blended approach is usually the best. As we wrap up, I wanted to share some best practices to keep in mind for managing your plugins. 1. Regular plugin audits. Schedule regular audits of your plugins. Doing this every few months or every few weeks can help ensure that your site remains optimized and secure. Number 2, limiting the number of plugins. Always try to keep your plugin count to a minimum. Only use plugins that are absolutely necessary for your site's functionality. The fewer plugins you have, the easier your site will be to manage. And finally, always keep your plugins up to date. Updates often include important security patches and performance improvements, so staying on top of them is very, very important. To recap, analyzing your WordPress site for unused plugins is an important part of maintaining a fast, secure, and well-functioning website. I encourage you to take some time this week to perform a plugin audit on your own site. You might be surprised at what you'll find. And if you have any questions or need further guidance, feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear about your experiences or help with any challenge you're facing. Thanks so much for tuning in to episode 5 of WP Creators Corner. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Your feedback really helps us improve and reach more people in the WordPress community. You can also subscribe to WP Creators Corner on your favorite podcast platform by visiting wpcorner.co/podcast/subscribe. Don't forget to check back next week for our next episode. Until then, keep learning, keep creating, and keep optimizing your WordPress websites. This is Patrick Lumumba signing off from WP Creators Corner podcast.